all about Venus and the moon. Venus, the domicile lord of Taurus, the moon, of course, the exaltation lord. Those two planets dominate the zodiac sign of Taurus. When we look to the moon and Venus for primary symbolism to understand the Taurian and this moment of time and everything about what is emerging here in May. In this video, I just want to talk about that a little bit. And really, I'm getting this out kind of right as the new moon is happening. So the other main purpose of this is to talk about an election, one of my favorite elections of the year, maybe one of the best elections we've had in like many months, even, dare I say, years, with a waxing phase of this lunation after the new moon triggers the moon seated by the sun, and we're moving into this expansive phase of 2024. So stay tuned, we're gonna break it down a little bit. You know, I'm sure you're seeing this all over YouTube or all over your social media feeds, people talking about the best new moon in a long time, the best month of astrology, May 2024, and I think there's something to that. I mean, it's somewhat rare to have a new moon, both luminaries together, with both of these so-called benefic planets, Venus and Jupiter, also with those luminaries. So that's a rare event enough to have us perk up here and say, well, what is Taurus? Where is Taurus in our charts? And how can that define the themes of this moment of astrology for us all? I will say, I find sometimes when there's overweight sectors of a chart, even though it's a Venus, Jupiter luminary moment, Mercury to join on the 15th, sometimes that alone can destabilize because there's too much action in one sector and there's not a splay of balance with the planetary interaction. I want to give voice to that. If some of you out there aren't feeling, wow, this is this amazing astrology, and maybe you're feeling out of sorts a little bit, it's overbalanced the fixed sign, which is things that are deeply sustained. Ruts might be a key word for fixed signs. It's overbalanced the earth element, so like ruts of physicality, ruts related to the body, maybe being locked in and seeing how we have been up into this point, some of the deeper patterning of our kind of relational and materiality and that aspect of our lives. So, you know, this doesn't have to be all bliss, though I think we need to look for that as a first tier here of symbolism. If you're out of balance, it's okay. You know, there will be more splays here later in the year as planets move out of Taurus and into these other signs of the zodiac, faster moving planets. So just to quickly say, you know, the obvious, I've talked about this in my month ahead video. You know, what is Taurus? It's pleasures of the flesh. Frankly, it is beauty and beautification of the materiality and the flesh and the pleasures of the flesh. Everything that that implies of arts and creativity.
I know you feel the same. So come on, give me love. I'ma show you how to move with my body. Come hit me with your touch.
We've got here, you know, sensual indulgence, emotional contentment, the body as the container of everything, the being, right? The antenna of consciousness and of the mind that is our body. Our body encases, or our body houses, this antenna of being and consciousness. And so that's why I think about contentment or emotional contentment. You've got contentment in the tangible delights of the material world. So these are things like a good meal or a nice pie, or just, you know, even small everyday things that are why we're alive, right? These are what makes our days worth living. Those simple things that are part of our routines, our so-called ruts or routines of life. You know, we can appreciate those, and we get established often in the things that we like, and that's good. You know, we go to what makes us feel good on a regular basis. This is a time for that and for acknowledging the power and benefit of that. Cultivating beauty of all kinds. Get into your arts and your creativity. Again, this is a peak of the Jupiter-Saturn sextile. Nurturing relationships. That's a huge part of this moment. You know, Venus rules Taurus. Venus is a planet of unity and relations. You know, full stop. Getting into our creative impulse and being with others and sharing our art maybe, or creating with others would be a hugely powerful way to get into this moment. An abundance mindset, you know, generosity of spirit, sharing resources, all of those things. One thing I think is a maybe less discussed aspect of the Taurian is the idea of perseverance. You know, it's the bull, and the bull is steadfast and it stays with things. When you get the bull going, it can charge and really change the world through steady, continuous, steadfast, fixed sign efforts. And so you might be thinking about that. Where's your perseverance during this moment here? And the new moon, by the way, 8 May, 3:21 UT. So I'm recording this on the 6th. I'll probably have it out just before this new moon hits. The thing about it, you know, is that it lasts for 2 weeks, is one way to look at a new moon, because at least 2 weeks, there's a waxing phase of the lunation that completes when the full moon happens. This will be the full moon in Sagittarius later in the month. And then that is the second part 2 phase of any lunation cycle. And that can kind of reset the energy. But the new moon to new moon is one way to write out new moons. And this would then define the whole lunar month. That we have this Taurus seeding, this benefic Taurus seeding. You know, I can think about the stability, building security, rootedness, all of these things, creating a solid foundation for growth. This is where you come to those Taurian themes of the home, of the moon, and how we can sort of stay fixed in our home world. You know, having a fixed and stable home life really does change our ability to act in the world and to be successful and to prosper, right? That benefic activation, we access that through having stable home. And so that could be a theme here. You might look for where's your foundation, where's your fixed Taurian foundation of stability through which, you know, you'll be able to move into the rest of the year. So this is the one final thing I want to say. I was talking about Taurus, the bull. We're fighting. You know, Venus is a planet of fighting and war often because we love and we fight for what we love. I mean, that's one definition of love. What are we willing to sacrifice for? What will we move into with our power because we have to, because we care so deeply about a thing or a person or a cause. And you know, Taurus is, this is the Sam Reynolds thing, he's always said Taurus, when he studied the symbolism, is some of the greatest activists are Taurian, and we're seeing that in the world. There's really a moment here where people are getting deeply into their activism. I think that is not a coincidence with these pile-ups in Taurus. So you might think about that. What do you care deeply about in the world? What are you willing to sacrifice and go all the way for? Fixed Taurus, fighting like a bull for your values, if we want to say Venus equals values. And just keep in mind, this is the finality of the Jupiter and Taurus transit. Now that full moon in Sagittarius, which arrives later in May, that full moon also has Jupiter and Venus in Taurus. So we get one more syzygy to activate the benefic Jupiter in Taurus, Venus in Taurus moment. But still, this is a moon in Taurus with those benefics, and it's closing out the final 2-week period here of this whole year-long Jupiter and Taurus cycle. So it's very much a moment to think about, on the one hand, the ending of that cycle, but on the other hand, the newness that that cycle has brought you over the course of the last year. And so it's kind of like one last moment to like get a fresh start with that Taurus sector while Jupiter is still there, and applying, distilling, and kind of reducing the lessons of Jupiter and Taurus to some kind of essential theme. You might find some reflection on that could be highly valuable during this time. And this is the final thing in the video. You know, if you're listening to this after the new moon, that's okay, because this might be the main message of the video. The May 14th, 2024 Leo moon, which to me, again, is one of the best moons we'll have in a long time to initiate some of your action, to get into your power and action here in 2024. Remember, Mercury was retrograde, blocks and delays. You know, Mars with Saturn, making difficulty for those themes of action in that spiritual and confusing sign of Pisces. Mars is now in Aries. This is a waxing moon, so we're seeding growth. While that moon is in Leo, it's in a mutual reception with the sun. The sun ruled by the moon by exaltation, the moon ruled by the sun by domicile. So it's a luminary mutual reception. That moon makes aspects to both benefics, so you can get that Leo moon applying to Venus, and that's the chart I've picked, 2021 UT, moon in the 10th house in much of Europe and Northern Europe, applying to Venus. So you get benefic applications of the moon, which is another core principle of electional work. Mars is trining and Saturn is averse, so there's no harm from these malefic planets. You know, I would just encourage you right here with this Leo moon, and just, you can elect by sign too. You know, you don't have to have an exact precise election, though that can very much help. But even the Cancer moon before this Leo moon, there's 2 moons where the moon is very strong in this waxing phase after the seeding of this benefic Taurian moment. And just think about, what projects do you have on your list? What things can you move forward with the next right action in the context of your life? And I think you'll do yourself quite well here to, you know, just hearing an astrologer say, hey, this is a great moment to get into action, may trick your mind into reviewing a to-do list if you've been stagnant, or if this Taurian overweight feeling has maybe destabilized or, you know, brought in some of that lazy Taurian. just hearing me say, hey, this is one of the best elections we'll have in a long, long time, or we will have had in a long, long time, may trick your mind or kickstart some kind of, all right, what's that next thing you can do? And I highly encourage you to do that. Set yourself up for this amazing summer, which comes as well just before what will be a fall 2024 and winter 2024, 2025, even into spring 2025, where we're gonna have a full Mars retrograde in Cancer, Leo. We will have a Venus retrograde. Right as that Mars retrograde ends, Venus goes retrograde. It's really not until like April, May 2025, after this summer, where we get very much green light active energy. We'll be dealing with these retrogrades. And so this moment, this best election of the year, after this benefic new moon, kicking off a summer where I think a lot of activity can be done before Mercury stations retrograde in August, this is the kind of stuff I would want you to think about, the actions you can deploy here to kickstart a very productive summer. So take care. It's great to be with you. Have a wonderful, wonderful new moon, and I wish you all the best with this benefic Taurian energy. Love life, love yourself. Moon, love the body. Taurus, love others, love the people in your life, and unify with those who you'd like to unify with, and enjoy it this week and enjoy this new moon. Talk to you real soon. Peace. Bye-bye.